My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we talk about those films we think deserve a little bit more love. Whether they're underrated or underseen, we're going to talk about them. So, let's see what it's going to be this week. Hello, yes, thanks for listening. This is Just Films and That. I'm the host, Josh Hallam.
And I'm Jamie Allerton.
And this week we're going to be discussing Hellboy from, crucially, note this one down, the year 2019. Not a pandemic to be seen, so spoiler warnings if you've not seen Hellboy from, again, listeners, note this one down, 2019. Otherwise known as not the good one. So if you haven't seen it, there are going to be spoilers for that. Whilst I've got your attention, if you could head on over to whatever app or device, whatever you listen to this on, give us a 5-star rating and review. It would be hugely appreciated. It helps other people hear us and listen to our thoughts on Hellboy from 2019. We're on Patreon as well, so if you've been listening for a while and you think, I'd like a little bit of a sort of bonus extended episode of this, head on over, click the link in our episode notes where you can get ad-free extended episodes with early access, a day early access to them from £1 a month. You'd be supporting the podcast and it would be massively appreciated. Anyway, Hellboy from 2019, Jamie. I picked this one, didn't I?
Yeah, I think I was going to say, you can hear it on last week's episode where you go, next week we're doing Hellboy. And I went, oh, yeah, you're doing 2019. It was like, yeah, it was... oh, no.
fancy going out this weekend? Yeah, there's not to the pub. Oh.
We're going to do some charity work. Oh.
Yeah. What? Do you want to watch the football? Yeah, it's Rovers. Right. So I picked this one. So it's from 2019, Jamie. So first and foremost, what I want to know is, have you seen it before?
I hadn't. No,
you hadn't seen it before, right? So if you hadn't seen it, then presumably you'll have known its reputation as being absolutely god awful.
Yeah. I'm in the crew of like Guillermo del Toro loyalists. That was kind of angry.
You love
at the
Shape
studio.
of Water and Pan's Labyrinth and all that, don't you? Anything with weird creatures.
Yeah, if you're shagging a weird creature, get me in there, baby.
Sex with the Big Fish, man.
Yeah, Blade 2, I'm all over it.
Exactly. So this is, I've picked this one because this was a bit of a disaster when it came out. It didn't make its money back, or it made barely any money, and it was a fairly huge critical failure. I know we haven't done the plot. It's a Hellboy film. It's Hellboy. He's a comic book character, and it's him fighting demons. And it's always basically ends up that he's the key to the end of the world, and he chooses not to be the key to the end of the world. So I picked it because it's underrated. Now, what I wanted to try with this one is, obviously normally at the end we do the critical reception, we decide if it's underrated, but because the scores are so bad and because we're messing about with the structure and seeing where things go long term, I wanted to do the scores first. So obviously, it's not well received and you hadn't seen it before. How bad do you think it was received?
Well, just from knowing, I'm gonna say, like, is it 2s and 3s all around?
It's not far off. It's not far off. So if you go over to IMDb, it gets 5.3 out of 10. I wouldn't say that's
right, yeah.
That's too bad. I think that's fairly okay. Rotten Tomatoes 48%, maybe a little low for me. The critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it 17%.
Oh, that's
and
harsh.
I just don't think this is that bad. I don't. It isn't a perfect film. It's not setting the world alight, but it's okay.
Yeah, I had fun with this.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
So just to remind people of the structure, we'll get into it now. We start with what we liked about the film. We move on to what we didn't like, and then we'll revisit that critical reception and come to a conclusion about what we think about whether it is underrated or underseen. But just to remind you, I've picked it because it's underrated, particularly because of that 17% critical reception on Rotten Tomatoes. So Jamie, you hadn't seen this one before, so what did you like about it, mate?
Yeah, I didn't. It's just not as bad as I thought it would be. Maybe it is the low expectation thing.
So you must have been going into this thinking this is going to be unwatchable.
Yeah, I thought, it's going to feel like chopped up. I actually really like Neil Marshall, the director. Yeah. We were saying, we've had a conversation about him before. Where we were like, he did Dog Soldiers, and he did
The Descent.
The Descent, and then he did other stuff. But we talk about them films.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like the cast. I think David Harbour does quite a good job in this, and I saw he got slated for his acting. I thought he brought a bit of levity, whereas Ron Perlman was just brooding the whole time. Which,
yeah, I absolutely am on board with that. I think David Harbour does a great job in this. He even said he was sort of playing Hellboy in this as like a grumpy teenager, and there are bits where you're like, I absolutely get what he's doing. There are bits like there's a whole bit where he literally storms out shouting at his dad. And you can see that. You can see what he's trying to do. I think he's the best part of this film. And I think he does enough in this to earn a sequel.
Yeah, I really like the relationship they have as well. There's a bit where his dad shows him how to shave. And it's like, that's a really sweet moment. And I don't think they actually got that relationship right between John Hare. And I know we're comparing it to, we're going to have to compare it to the...
It's inevitable you're going to compare it to the 2000s, or the 2000s ones, the two of them.
But I really like that relationship. I would say I never bought Ian McShane as a professor. He's Lovejoy.
You know, buy him as Blackbeard the Pirate in Blackbeard, one of the pirate films that he's in. I can't remember which one, but one of them.
Can you imagine him like pulling up a whiteboard and just writing down equations and being like, and that is exactly how we're going to find this?
He looks like if you were late to his class, he'd kick the shit out of you.
He looks like he's ready to pour you a pint of IPA at any point.
He does look. Maybe he is his character from the John Wick films. Yeah, like he's just this suave gentleman. The other reason, before we go on, we've picked it is because actually the new Hellboy is out this week, and we're hopefully going to review it. So we wanted to compare, the last time the character was done as well. But so carrying on with that, then talking about David Harbour. For me, I think he's a good Hellboy. I think he gets the adult child thing down well. He's got a good physicality. He does the quippy stuff right. I think he's quite good in the action that he does. I think I would give David Harbour an old, well, he's not old, but one of these like a Taken or an Old Man action film, Nobody, all these sorts of films. I'd give him one of them to see what he did with it.
I think he's trapped in the Marvel / Stranger Things thing now. That's going to be the next 5 years of his life, isn't it?
Yeah. He's absolutely drunk the Kool-Aid there, hasn't he?
To be fair, give him like a 90s, give him Jan de Bont, send him off to Bulgaria for 4 months. He's coming back with a great action film.
Yeah, cast someone in there, who we want to see. Bridget Monahan. No. Famke Janssen. That's who's going to be in it.
Just bring her back.
Yeah, just bring her back.
We're doing Taken again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, she's going to be in Taken the 5 or however many did it. But I think he's great as Hellboy. I mean, he is... I do like the way, we'll come on to the look of the film in a bit, but I quite like how Hellboy in this is just a big, sweaty, ugly mess.
Yeah, and also he doesn't have the kind of shame that the Ron Perlman version has. He's not like hiding. If he's hiding his face, it's because it's tactical. It's because he wants to move through places.
Just walking about.
But he lives in a world where people like do that. It's like Scooby-Doo talking, where people are shocked for a second and like, okay, fine.
Yeah, this is what it is it?
Yeah, and they sell his personality really well when he has I really like the Lucha Libre fight. And he has a bit of humanity where he's like, oh, that's my friend, and now I've had to put him down. And he's getting hammered on tequila. He's more fun. He's quite a fun character in this.
Yeah,
it's just a shame that he has been surrounded by absolute dweebs and dour losers.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, I think in terms of the cast, look, we'll get onto this in dislikes. There's some fairly questionable accents in there. I think Mila Jovovich does a fairly decent job as the villain. She doesn't get loads to do, but she's fairly okay, apart from some of her dialogue, which isn't necessarily her fault. But I do think the highlight for me is David Harbour as Hellboy. I think he is great. Although, do you want to talk about the Scouse Pigman?
Well, it's not good Scouse representation, is it?
It's not. I mean, a lot of people, when they think of Liverpool, do they think of a big pig monster that could beat the shit out of Hellboy?
they think of Bebop / Rocksteady from the
they
Turtles
think of
movies.
one of those two. And listen, we both live in Liverpool. We love the city, love the people. It's some strange Scouse representation there. Although Stephen Graham, I think, does a fairly good job of the voice, considering he wasn't there or involved apart from in a booth.
I'm always happy to hear Stephen Graham's voice, obviously, and I love him.
And this is definitely at that stage where they went, I don't know, I want a sort of like a Groot thing or a Rocket thing, but make it adult.
Yeah, it does stand out. You give him that. Like, if you put a Scouser in a Hollywood film, at least your ear is going to go, oh, that's a bit different.
And it's all set in the UK as well. Well, it's not all set. There's a bit it opens in, I think, Mexico, isn't it? But the bulk of the plot takes place in the UK. Yeah,
I think they shot quite a bit of it in the UK. And it's always nice to see British stuff. But you kind of wonder, like, does that... I think that Britishness kind of makes it feel like an expensive Doctor Who episode as well.
Yeah, there is an element of this of feeling like a quite well done fan film.
Yeah.
Like you come across on YouTube and you think, bloody hell, they've done a good job on this, haven't they?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been handled by that much of an expert. And I think we can maybe come on to that in dislikes a bit, but I think behind the scenes, this wasn't as handled as well as, like, obviously when you have got Del Toro, he just says, no, this is what we're doing. Studio, shut up. I'm sorry, I'll just wave my Oscars at you.
He's in the Big Fish Man film that I've made. And absolutely. And obviously, it was a very turbulent production, and I think that bleeds through into what you see on the screen. But anyway, like you say, we'll carry on with the likes then. Anything else for you on the likes then, or is it just that it's, what did you think of the action for a start?
I like the set pieces. I like the fight he has with the giants is really good.
I like that.
And there are some, I always like a film where in my head I go, oh, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen next. And with the bit where he goes to help those weird knights help trap the giants, and then it turns out to be a double cross. I wasn't expecting that, and that did have me. I was like, oh, okay, where are we going with this? This is interesting. So some of the CGI is a bit cheap, but I don't judge you for that because this is a lower budget movie. It's not a case of like, oh, well, we changed our mind halfway through and that's why we rushed the special effects house. I feel like the effects were better than I thought they were going to be, and also it's an R-rated film and they do push it to it's comic book gore, so it's not like it's not like the ear getting cut off in Reservoir Dogs, but you do get a lot of clarity on screen, which I liked.
Yeah, you do. So let's talk about it as a comic book film, because one of the things I do like about this is I think Neil Marshall went at this with a vision, and that was probably tampered with, right? Because I like that they chose a particular visual style, right? Which is what comic books do. So, you draw the character a certain way, it looks a certain way. And I think I like how dirty and grimy this is. It does give it a cheap look, but I don't think that's an accident. I think that is almost on purpose. Some of the CGI, not so much, but the whole look of like Hellboy being sweaty and grimy and everything sort of feeling like it's got a thin film of dirt on it and that sort of thing. I think it picked an art style and it stuck with it in the same way that a comic book would do. And I think that's quite a bold choice. And a lot of the best comic book films, if you think of like Tim Burton's Batman or some of the stronger Marvel films, they've picked a particular style and gone, or Black Panther, for example, they pick a particular visual style and they go with it. And I think that works really well in this. And like I said, I think there's some good action in there as well. Like the giant fight's quite good. The Lucha Libre fight's quite good. The sort of post-credit-y end thingy fight is quite good. What did you think of it as a comic book film? I mean, it's not one of the best comic book films. I think we can say that. But other comic book films have got a Scouse pig thing in them.
Oh, have you not seen X-Men 2, the post-credit scene? Where Xavier puts his body in a Scouse pig.
Yeah, because then they put him in Deadpool and Wolverine, didn't they? And it was like, oh, there's the Scouse pig from X-Men 2.
So, well, yeah, I like that it goes all out on it, because when you think about how far along we've come from X-Men 1, where Bryan Singer was embarrassed to have the outfits and he put them in the leather costumes and he was like, all right, people's powers can't be too incredible because, we're making a film for adults. To here, you've got Merlin and Arthur, and even as McShane being like, yes, Dad, Arthur, we're doing it. Yeah, like I like that narratively they really went for it, and they went for
there's no tiptoeing around the law, is that they just went everything. It's everything. Everything's in this.
Yeah, and I think
Merlin. Sorry to interrupt. Merlin, played by Brendan Gleeson's son, in a role that's so like, oh my god, he sounds like his dad. I was
also,
like, you couldn't tell any more. If you went, shut your eyes, whose dad is he? Who's his dad? You'd be like, Brendan Gleeson. He's once away from being like, I just don't like you no more.
Yeah.
Hellboy. But sorry, mate. Go on.
Aye, but you were Hellboy yesterday. Talking to Rob Melbourne. Yeah, I actually think tonally, one of the great things he does is casting Mila Jovovich, because that's, you're telling the audience, look, this is what we're going for. You know the kind of film she's in. She even came forward and did a quote where she said, people hate this now, but I know my films. I know my cult films. People will like this in 10 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got that baggage that comes with her, doesn't she? Of like, you know, the sort of films that she makes. Anything else for you on the likes then?
I mean, not that many. I think there were some funny lines. And I feel like David Harbour plays it as if he's doing it off the cuff. There was one where someone like did what would happen if she got her hands on the whatever, and he says, "Oh, I'd appreciate a prophecy with more relatable stakes." I'll be honest with you. He has some nice throwaway lines.
He does the quippy stuff well, I think. Do you think, would you rather have a sequel to this or a sequel to the Ron Perlman one?
Just so that
assuming, let's take aging out the picture and the fact that Ron Perlman's getting on now.
I think because we wanted the ending of that trilogy, the Ron Perlman ending would have been nice. And also, like, as much as I like Neil Marshall, Del Toro.
Del Toro, I mean, this film isn't it's not that, yeah, I wouldn't say it's not that it's not a patch on them. It's completely different in terms of what it's going for. But if you had to ask which one I've watched, I'm watching the first Hellboy with Ron Perlman. I think that's an absolute classic. I think it's a brilliant comic book film.
I think if the studio were going to give them an R rating anyway, why didn't they just let that? They could have lured Del Toro back in, but apparently had a falling out with Mike Mignola.
Yes, I read that. They disagreed on how to push forward with it as well. I mean, you never know. We've got a new Hellboy coming out, played by Jack Kesey. Is he playing? He's called. That's coming out this week. Like we said, we're hopefully going to review.
I mean, that really does look fan made.
That really does look fan made. But you know, are we going to get a Hellboy No Way Home?
Well, the new one coming out makes me think, is this one of those contractual things where the rights go somewhere?
Like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four that never came out, that sort of thing. Yeah. Or is it going to be so bad that people are going to look at this and go, that was actually pretty good?
Maybe Neil Marshall is behind the new one, where he's like, yeah, go make it in the woods. Got him.
Okay, so we'll move on to the dislikes then. So let's talk about that then, because we are all about balance, and we've already touched on the fact that, you know, I like this. I think it's nowhere near as bad as those scores suggest, but it is flawed, deeply flawed. And I think let's get into the studio intervention of it all.
So I don't even have a problem with the studio intervening. My main problem is, did Daniel Day Kim not like acting in this? Did he not want to be in it?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on some poor accents before. Him, and I don't think Sasha Lane is bad in this as Alice, but her accent isn't great, and his is worse.
But I think he's realised, because I can't do an English accent that well, if I just seem quite bored the whole time, then I don't have to hit anything dramatic.
It's difficult as well. So his character was miscast, then recast. So it was Ed Skrein, and then there was a lot of controversy around that casting with Ed Skrein. This is what his sort of story was. He didn't know that the character was of Asian origin. So he, you know, did the right thing and dropped out and they cast Daniel Day Kim. But you got to think, is there no British Asian actors who could have done it?
Yeah, or just people. That's what's crazy is like you reading up on, because I read up on this at the time, and I was like, oh, Daniel Day Kim sounds like he's really into this, and this will be quite an interesting performance. And his Britishness maybe isn't that important enough to just let him do his own accent.
That's what I mean. Like, why?
Because he's a guy who turns into a fucking jaguar. That's an exciting.
It's got to be realistic. He's from London, and then he turns into a jaguar.
I'm going to get on the dog and bone and then turn into a jaguar.
So yeah, what didn't you like about it then, apart from that?
I mean, I already said it does feel a bit Doctor Who-y at times. And also, I watched this film 2 days ago, and then I came to make my notes today, and it's actually quite forgettable. Like, I did have to go on the synopsis again and be like, oh yeah, he met Merlin and he fell down the hole and he's there and Mila Jovovich put a body back together.
I'd forgotten Mila Jovovich was in it.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about the weird Ian McShane sort of splobby neck at the end. That bit.
the genie that
I forgot that Alice's character vomits dead people up to speak to people.
Yeah, I mean, I like. I know I didn't touch on this. Like, some of the stuff that she did was quite interesting. Like the fact that if they go to a crime scene, she's like, "Oh my god, I can hear everyone screaming!" Like, "Oh, stay in the van, love." But yeah, it kind of washes over you to the point that I think there's only a couple of memorable scenes. Like we said, the giant fight and the lucha libre. But if you asked me to sit down and kind of map out what the story was for this, I'd be like, I think they hid Mila Jovovich's body somewhere and she got a pig to put it back together. And then, like you said at the start, they did the classic. And then Hellboy's going to end the world, but he decides not to, as he always does.
Which is every Hellboy film so far.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that reeks of this intervention. So I mean, I don't know. The stories I've read are that, Neil Marshall wanted to do one thing, the studio wanted to do another thing. There was a lot of clashing of heads and stuff like that. But it does reek to me of not letting a director do their job. And I think you can tell the bits that are Neil Marshall, where it's dirty and grimy and bloody, and like his other films, like Dog Soldiers and like The Descent and stuff like that. But there are other bits where it feels thrown together in the edit. So I think there's a lot of show don't tell and a studio's idea of what people want from a film like this. So quick cuts and then title cards saying England, and then a few minutes later London. It's like, I know it's England and I know it's London. I can see it's England. I can see it's London. You don't have to, it's bloody expensive London, isn't it? I can see everyone walking around moaning about the tube.
Yeah. You just have to show us Big Ben.
Just show it us.
Show him. I do think he's having a chippy at one point, which I liked. When he goes to
not
see
down south. Nah.
Yeah, it's got to be shit
now. Then
when he goes to see Ian McShane sees him in London, I swear he's holding a chippy in his hands. I was like, yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah. What if Ian McShane's character was, because Ian McShane's quite northern in this, so he could be like complaining that there's no gravy and curry.
Or if he's like, I can't believe you got curry sauce on there.
Yeah, well, you Welsh.
That should be thick gravy.
Where's the mushy peas? Can't
find a sausage dinner anyway. That's your new mission, Hellboy. Get me a sausage dinner.
In London for less than a tenner. But anyway, then there's some issues from that intervention. I think there's some script issues as well. Put more faith in your audience. There's so much exposition dumping in this, which you can tell they were obviously making something and someone's stepped in and gone, just say this in case we need it. So there's a bit where Alice is like, I owe you one from when you saved my life from when I was a kid. And you're I already knew that.
If we're going to show that scene anyway.
Yeah, you're going to show it anyway. There's the whole thing. And it's already linked to another character, which is the Scouse Pig.
Yeah, and you already feel that she's indebted to him anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It is the case. That's definitely, I mean, that's not, looking at Neil Marshall's other films, he doesn't do over exposition. Like, when you look at, what's the one under the ground again?
The Descent, isn't it? The cave one.
Yeah, when you look at The Descent, you don't even find out what's really going on with.
No, that's what I mean. It's just, this is it's happening, so watch it. Whereas this is like, we're going to hold your hand all the way through, just in case. Look at the big red Hellboy man.
And also, he's got a chip on his shoulder about being like summoned by the Nazis. He finds out in this that he's like summoned by the Nazis. That was kept from him. But it's like, you called Hellboy, you're a demon. How was that affected you? That like, Did you think it was like, the Pope did it at Mass one day?
You're a big devil. You shave you file your horns down, mate. Because I mean, they've done that origin twice now, which is his origin. That's what happens in the comics. But it always makes me laugh that they always include Rasputin, even though I don't know much about it. But I think he died 40 years before World War II or something.
Well,
I think he died in like the 1910s. Well, you tell me, Deep State.
Did he change his name and buy an island?
Yeah. But for me, it does reek of that studio intervention, and it's almost like they went, just shoot enough, and it'll come together in the edit, and it just sort of didn't. apart from some of the strong scenes which would take planning, like the giant fight scene.
Like,
and there's a reason
about...
why that and the Lucha Libre fight stand out. It's because they're not dialogue driven. It's because you have to plan them, because they have to be, because the effects and even the giant fight, there's bits where I can see him avoiding the big green sticks, but I don't mind because I think it's quite well done.
Yeah, I thought the camera work and giant fight, if you watch that again, there's a lot of kind of, it'll be CGI merged, but it's all fluid. You can tell what's going on, and it feels like one take. And things have weight to them. Like when he picks up when he picks up the giant sword, yes, it is CGI, but they've gone to like extra effort to make it feel like it has weight. And he does it in a creative way. Like I always look at when people have combat in these things, are they just doing something to look cool? And actually, you notice he goes for like eyes really quickly. They're a bigger foe than him. So he actually has a fighting style that is quite smart.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
You can tell that maybe they just spent a lot longer doing it, being like, this is going to be our key set piece. This is what's going in the trailers. Let's make it good. And then the rest, they were like, just point a camera at it. I'll do.
Yeah, just let make the actors say stuff and then we'll throw it all together. And it just doesn't. It's a shame because I think there is a decent film in there, but it is just a bit schlocky in terms of that script.
It is a shame. It's an Ian McShame.
Oh, there he is,
professional comedian, fresh from the Edinburgh Fringe.
Okay, so when we want to talk about the critical reception then, now we've already gone through the critical reception, so just to remind you how the scores work, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes audience, Rotten Tomatoes critics, and then we average them out. So IMDb 5.3, Rotten Tomatoes audience 48%, and the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, so the real reason I picked it, 17%. Now that averages out, Jamie, at 39% or 3.9 out of 10. I've mainly picked it because of the critics score, but even averaged out, I think that's too low. I think this is a solid 5 for me. It's a solid 5. It's not a 3.9 out of 10. Even if it was not much higher than that, it's not 17% bad.
Yeah, no, I think this is one of those ones where, film reviewers that can only either do a 2-star or a 3-star.
Yeah.
Like this was born to be a 2.5 star. It's, there's something there. There's fun there. You don't regret watching it afterwards, but you do go, I probably won't watch that again.
Yeah, unless you pick it for a podcast.
Yeah. Cheers, Josh.
So there we go then. Hellboy is underrated. Are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Hellboy. Okay, so your turn next week then, mate. What are we going to be talking about? Is it another Hellboy film?
It is not. It's fantastic. It is a 90s disaster film called Daylight with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay, well, a little bit of Sylvester Stallone in your podcast feed next week. Join us next week. As Jamie said, we're going to be talking about Daylight, starring Sylvester Stallone. So we'll be interested to see what we reckon to that one. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com. We're on all the social medias if you search for Just Films and That on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. And you'll find us. We're always putting stuff out there, so do give us a follow. All that remains to be said is thank you very much for listening. It's goodbye from me. We'll see you next week. Cheerio.
Bye.
To make switching to the new Boost Mobile risk-free, we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
So why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Because you have nothing to lose. Boost Mobile is offering a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No, I asked why wouldn't you switch from Verizon or T-Mobile?
Oh.
Wouldn't.
Because you love wasting money as a way to punish yourself because your mother never showed you enough love as a child?
Whoa. Easy there.
Yeah.
Applies to online activations. Requires port in and auto pay. Customers activating in stores may be charged non-refundable activation fees.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/work. Shopify.com/work.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.